Hello, Much Tall here. I'm bringing you a video today about a problem with my cell phone. I've got a Samsung Galaxy Note 2. Bought this just a few months ago, back in March, and it was a great phone when I first got it, but then I ran into a problem within about a month or two where the Wi-Fi just didn't seem to be connecting properly, and the speed was pretty bad. Generally all around flaky. I just never seemed to be able to get a solid Wi-Fi connection. Did some Google searching. Turns out that this is not an uncommon problem, but it is one of those problems that conveniently Samsung does not want to admit to. So what we have here, this is actually a device, and you can kind of see, if I get a close-up here, you can see I've actually got a pretty good received signal, my RSSI there, neg 61 dBm. I should be able to get a fairly good connection link speed there, but as you can see, I'm actually only getting 2 megabits per second. Right now I'm sitting in my kitchen, and my access point is in the next floor up, literally no more than probably 15 feet away, and just going through a single drywall ceiling and rafters and flooring. Now I should be able to get a good signal at this point, and I'm gonna quickly bring you over here to my wife's phone. She has a Galaxy S3, and as you can see, she's actually got a fine connection speed, no problem at all. So as you can see just by this is not a problem with my access point. It tends to be pointing to a problem with the phone. Now, part of my reason for making this video is I've been through hoops, essentially, trying to get Samsung to address this issue. I started out going to the Samsung website, and I apologize, this is probably going to get a little boring, and I'll put a link up in the video about where you can fast forward to actually see some actual troubleshooting information. But just to start out, I tried submitting my case via the online Samsung support form, and I got into putting in all my information, putting in a description with all the various things I'd tried in terms of troubleshooting, essentially just trying to knock out all those common issues you'd come across when dealing with Samsung support, just so that I wouldn't have to waste my time. That was a waste of time, because their online support form is apparently broken. When I went to submit it, it would essentially give me the Heisman at the troubleshooting wizard. I'd go through all the troubleshooting they could possibly offer, but I could not get past the troubleshooting wizard. It just simply won't let you pass. So I go to the live chat. And I initially was just trying to go there to explain that there was a problem with their website, and I just wanted to submit my case. But I ended up going through troubleshooting with them. Now, of course, they're going to go through all the common troubleshooting steps that you might do. You do the factory reset. You do the essentially the clearing of the cache. I plugged this thing into Samsung Kies, did a flash of the firmware, didn't help. I've done all the firmware updates, all these things, all the very common troubleshooting steps I've been through. Of course, once you get through all that with live chat, what do they tell you? Oh, sorry, I can't help you. You're going to have to call this phone number. So they give me a phone number. I call the phone number. It's apparently Samsung's level 1 support. And you have to go through the same troubleshooting steps again, because the live chat never actually enters in any trouble ticket information. So there's no information that tracks what you've already done. So you spend another half hour, whatever, troubleshooting with level 1 support on the phone, the exact same issues, going through the exact same conversations, dispelling the exact same theories that you've been through once before. So I go through all this. Then I get sent up to level 2 support, because of course they can't find a solution to the problem. Level 2 support, fortunately, was adept enough to know that I'd already tried these things, but that didn't prevent them from having me do another factory reset on the phone, because of course none of this information got tracked in a trouble ticket between level 1 and level 2 support. So I have to go through this again. Now fortunately, when I did talk to level 2 support, after going through a few troubleshooting steps, they did give me a repair ticket and a UPS shipping label, and I was able to get my phone shipped out. The unfortunate thing is, it took 2 weeks for me to get my phone back. I don't know what the problem was, but every step of the way, when I shipped my phone, it got there in maybe a day or two, but then it just sat somewhere at Samsung where they did nothing with it for a day. Then it got to their repair department, and they put they put a number of notes in my ticket. Here, I'm going to pan over to my computer here. I've kind of zoomed in on what the various notes were that they left, but I'm trying to leave out any personally identifiable information here. But as you can see, there's a note, kind of some of the first items in the ticket. As you can see, it says, "The unit has left the technician. Solutions, software updated." At this point, I became very concerned, because I've been through all these flashes. I've done all these software resets, all these things. Okay, I already had the latest firmware. So I contacted Samsung support via their email form and said, what's going on with this ticket? I'm really concerned about it because I've already done all the software updating solutions that you could possibly even try. I asked them specifically, what firmware are you putting on here? Because I'm currently running MC2, and that's the latest as of the production of this video at least. And they said, oh, don't worry, essentially. That's just because they always update the software before they send out the phone. They probably replaced hardware or something. Now, as you can see, the next thing is that the phone actually, let's see here, I'm missing a scroll in here somewhere. So let me scroll on. There you can see it. There's the solution software updated, and then it went to their quality assurance check department, their QA department, where they said that it failed or did not pass the QA check. Now, obviously, I had my concerns, and I was happy to see that their QA department had caught something. So I thought, okay, my fears have been allayed. I don't have anything to worry about here because the QA department is doing their job. Now, as you can see, the next comment up is essentially the exact same thing. So clearly they're not putting any information in the ticket about what troubleshooting steps have been tried, what the problem was believed to be, any of those things. Very, very concerning, because there's now you can see this pattern of a lack of communication on Samsung's part within their own organization. So they said that they had a solution. It goes to QC pass, their quality check pass, and then they ship the phone back to me. Now, as I said, they didn't solve the problem. So I ended up having to call them back, and of course, what happens? You're talking to level 1 support again. And they ask you all the different troubleshooting items you've tried yet. And even though I referred to my repair ticket case and stated to them, what the problem was, the person I talked to on the phone had said, oh no, there's no detail in here about, this specific issue. What they were troubleshooting was they thought this was a received signal strength issue. And I made it abundantly clear to each person I talked to that this is not a received signal strength issue. This is an issue with the transmitted signal strength. And the level 1 support person essentially wasn't able to do anything for me, was going to escalate me to a department, but of course their escalations department had a queue of like 20 some calls, said there was no way they could possibly call me back that night. They would have to call me back the next day. So they called me back today, left me a voicemail. I call back the number, and it rings with no answer. So this is how the wonderful Samsung support department operates. Now, what I'm showing you here, and this is after all that explanation of what you should expect if you ever have to call Samsung support, what I'm going to show you here is essentially a demonstration of why this is a phone problem with the Samsung Galaxy Note 2. This is not an issue with your AP. It's not an issue with my AP, obviously. And so whatever Samsung tells you is essentially just a way of saying, it's not our problem, it's yours. And I'm just showing you, it's not your problem, it's theirs. This is also for the benefit of Samsung, so that when I call them next, I don't have to sit here and explain this for another, as you can see here, 10 minutes to them. Instead, I can actually just refer them to this video, and so hopefully somebody can look through this and understand the case without actually keeping me on the phone and wasting my time. So what I have here is I have 4 different phones. This is an LG phone. Don't even know what the model is, but here's a HTC Evo 4G. That's the first generation. This is a Samsung Galaxy S3, and finally the problematic Samsung Galaxy Note 2. So I've got the MAC addresses of each one written down on pieces of paper here, so you can see when I bring you over to my wireless strength indicator on my access point, you can see what the result is of each of these devices. So if I go into each phone here, and let me just kind of move aside because I'm sure there's lock screens involved. Okay, and so here we have the first phone. As you can see, RSSI is sufficient, and we are actually getting a decent connection rate. Not as good as the other phones, but it's good. Unlock the next phone. And here you can see also sufficient received signal and a decent rate. And here you can also see sufficient signal and a good rate. And then finally, the Galaxy Note 2, where you can see similar signal and an absolutely abysmal link speed. Now, like I said, I'm standing 15 feet from my AP. I should be able to get a signal similar to these other phones. If I walk further away, what you'll end up seeing is the phone will either not connect if you've lost connection at that point, or it will appear to still be connected, but you won't actually be able to communicate at all, so your web pages and things like that just simply won't respond. You'll also see odd things like authentication errors. You might see IP address errors. I've seen it all, and I've seen all of these things described on places like XDA forums, or XDA developers rather. The only way I can get a link speed that even comes close to the 54 megabits per second is if I literally set my phone on top of the antenna for the access point. Unless I'm doing that, I cannot get essentially the top connection speed. And if I'm even standing in the same room, I'm not likely to get a connection speed coming close to even like 24 megabits per second. It's pretty bad. I have done firmware resets on my phone, done factory default resets. Like I said, I did the Kies firmware flash, tried doing a recovery through there. I have to imagine that's kind of the same things that Samsung went through when they had it at their factory. Now, here's the kicker. So, as you can see here, this is the 5D-E0. That's the problematic MAC address. And I've got a number of other devices on my network, but just so you can see for yourself, so the LG device here ends in 53DD, and here you can see 53DD. I'll zoom out a little bit so you can see. There's actually only one device on this entire signal quality list that shows a signal problem. Now, keep in mind, since you're dealing with received signal and transmitted signal, you can never actually see the strength of a transmitted signal from the perspective of the transmitter, i.e. the phone. You have to go on the access point, which is what I'm showing here. So from the perspective of the access point, you can actually see the signal strength of the phone as it's being transmitted. And similarly, I would never be able to see what the signal received strength is of the access point as the access point is transmitting from the access point itself. You have to go onto the phone, and that's what we were just seeing there within Network Info 2. So here I can see a list of all of my other devices in my home. Plus, you can see the LG device there at 53DD. That's fourth down in the list. And that's getting a signal quality of about 54%. Then I've got the Evo 4G at D4E5. And that's the top one at the list, signal quality of 60. And then the Samsung Galaxy S3, that's 3444. And that is second to the bottom there. And that has a signal quality of 56. Now, the only one there, the 5DE0, that's the Galaxy Note 2, that's got a signal quality of 4%. Now, if I were actually to like walk away, take this phone maybe and put it a little further across the room. Hold on just a second. I literally just put it behind me, no more than 5 more feet away. And as you can see, the signal's dropped to effectively nothing. So there's a serious problem, and I don't know what it is. If it's, I'm convinced it's not the antenna, because that would have been caught in repair. Also, if it were the antenna, there's no reason to believe that that wouldn't affect received signal strength as well. So I have to believe it's something dealing with the chipset firmware. And I don't know if it's something that's repairable. Well, my concern is that it's something that the Wi-Fi chipset is essentially burnt out. And so it's capable of receiving signal through its amp properly, but it can't transmit. So similarly to, you should be able to expect to receive a signal on a radio just fine, but the radio does no transmitting, like your FM radio at home. The transmitting is a separate function. And so I have to imagine there's something wrong with the transmitter on the Wi-Fi chipset. And hopefully it's something that Samsung can repair through a simple firmware software update. But I'm a little skeptical at this point because there doesn't seem to be any admission coming from Samsung that there's even a problem. So I guess that's it. And I'll have to give you an update later, let you know what I've come across in my dealings with Samsung. Maybe they can actually resolve this for me. I just hope they can get it fixed, because I swore to myself 10 years ago that I would never buy another Samsung product again after buying a number of Samsung devices. Not phones, although one of them was a phone. Not all of them phones, other devices as well, but each one had failed within the span of approximately a year. And I just figured there's something seriously wrong with quality control at Samsung, at least within their manufacturing departments. And so I was never going to buy one again. But I came from a history of using Palm OS devices for years, and I liked the whole idea of the capacitive, or not even the capacitive stylus. This is actually a Wacom stylus, I believe. And I thought I'd want to have that experience again with the Galaxy Note. And I just feel burned. I just don't think I would ever want to buy another Samsung product ever again. And I certainly would never recommend to any family member to ever buy a Samsung product again. I'm really feeling disappointed about recommending to my wife and my father-in-law as well to buy Samsung products. and I certainly hope that they can address this situation. So thanks for listening to my rant. I know it's probably 20 minutes too long, and I'll talk to you later.